Meine Damen und Herren, liebe Zuseher aus Österreich, es freut mich sehr, Sie heute hier willkommen zu heißen zu unserem Webinar Japan, Biolebensmittel und Functional Food. Es freut mich, dass ich auch viele von Ihnen, ich habe es in der Teilnehmerliste gesehen, auch schon persönlich hier gesehen habe, bei der Foodex oder bei einer unserer Veranstaltungen zum Lebensmittelbereich. Akara Arnold ist mein Name, ich bin der stellvertretende Leiter des Außenwirtschaftscenters Tokios, Ihrem Büro in Japan. Wir haben tolle Speaker heute, wirkliche Experten für die beiden Bereiche Bio und für den Bereich Functional Food. Bevor wir jetzt zu denen kommen, möchte ich noch ganz kurz ein paar kurze Ansagen machen. Das sogenannte House Cleaning, wie Sie es kennen. Sie wissen es vermutlich von unseren anderen Formaten. Das Webinar wird aufgezeichnet. Wir stellen es später über YouTube allen Interessenten zur Verfügung. Bitte um Ihr Verständnis deswegen bei Fragen, die Sie haben und die vertraulicher Natur sind. Sie können uns natürlich jederzeit eine E-Mail schreiben oder uns persönlich kontaktieren. Diese können wir dann dort vertraulich beantworten. Ansonsten zum Thema Fragen. Wenn Sie Fragen während den Vorträgen haben, wir werden versuchen, alle Fragen gesammelt am Ende zu beantworten. Das heißt, Fragen bitte einfach in das Chatfenster eintippen und am Ende um circa 10:20 Uhr österreichischer Zeit werden wir dann versuchen, 10 Minuten für das Q&A zu haben, um dann diese Fragen gesammelt zu beantworten. Bevor wir jetzt sozusagen in medias res gehen und das uns anschauen, wie der Markt für Biolebensmittel und Functional Foods in Japan ausschaut, möchte ich noch ganz kurz eine Umfrage starten, damit wir auch sozusagen ein bisschen was über Sie kennenlernen. Als erstes würde ich gerne wissen, mit welchen Beziehungen oder welche Beziehungen Sie bereits mit Japan haben auf Geschäftsbasis. Sie sehen jetzt die Umfrage eingeblendet. Ich sehe auch schon die ersten Antworten reinkommen. Warten wir vielleicht noch ein bisschen. Sie müssten das jetzt auch sehen. Ja, wir haben also relativ stark aufgeteilt zwischen den beiden Gruppen, nämlich jenen, die überhaupt noch keine Geschäftsbeziehungen haben und jenen, die bereits einen Importeur haben. Das heißt also, jene, die eigentlich relativ viel Erfahrung mit dem japanischen Markt schon haben sollten und jene, die überhaupt noch keine Geschäftsbeziehung, vielleicht deswegen auch sehr wenig Erfahrung noch mit dem japanischen Biomarkt haben. Ich habe da noch eine kleine zweite Umfrage, die ich auch ganz kurz reinbringe, nämlich was machen Sie sozusagen, was ist Ihr Unternehmenszweck, in welchem Bereich sind Sie tätig, eher als Produzent von Rohmaterialien, von Fertigprodukten, sind Sie ein Beratungsunternehmen, sind Sie rein Vertrieb und Export, ohne selbst zu produzieren oder eben keines der oben genannten Kategorien. Auch da haben wir jetzt schon fast 50% der Stimmen erreicht. Wir haben sehr viele Produzenten an Bord. Ich schließe jetzt die Umfrage und teile sie natürlich auch gleich mit Ihnen. Und wie Sie sehen, sind auch hier wieder zwei Kategorien relativ stark vertreten. Das erste ist Produzent von Fertigprodukten und das zweite ist dann sozusagen Produzent von Rohmaterialien. Außerdem haben wir noch einige Beratungsunternehmen und auch einige, die rein den Vertrieb und Export machen. Damit komme ich jetzt wieder zurück zu unserem Slide und ich darf Ihnen noch sagen, dass wir ja am 29.09. den zweiten Teil dieses Webinars machen. Sie brauchen sich dafür nicht mehr extra registrieren. Wir werden alle Teilnehmer von heute automatisch auch gleich im Webinar für den 29.09. Registrieren. Dann darf ich noch ganz kurz die Sprecher von heute vorstellen. Das ist erstens meine Kollegin, die Frau Noriko Matsumoto, die bei uns seit mehr als 10 Jahren den ganzen Bereich Food, Lebensmittel, Wein und damit eben natürlich auch die ganzen Bio- und Functional Food Agenten mit erledigt. Der Herr Pascal Gerber, pardon my French sozusagen, meine Aussprache ist sicher nicht perfekt. Neben dem, dass er jetzt Japan Managing Director für Unabis ist, war er lange Jahre der Japan-Geschäftsführer für Bio C'est Bon, eine der Ketten, die hier am schnellsten und weitesten sich ausgebreitet hat im Bio-Bereich und der wirklich prädestiniert ist, um über den Biomarkt sozusagen. Und danach haben wir noch Herrn Morishita. Herr Morishita ist an der Osaka University, ist dort für Functional Food unter anderem bekannt, hat auch eigene Bücher zu dem Thema geschrieben und ist auch als Expertenberater der Regierung Abe ich glaube 5 Jahre als Experte in der Regierung Abe als Konsulent für den Bereich Functional Food gewesen. Bevor ich jetzt aber sozusagen an den ersten Speaker übergebe, möchte ich kurz auch noch unseren Clusterpartner aus Österreich vorstellen, der uns diesmal sehr geholfen hat. Ich darf den Herrn Daniel Rogel bitten, ja, online zu kommen. Perfekt funktioniert das. Herr Rogel, bitte, the floor is yours, sozusagen.
Ja, vielen Dank, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren. An Sie guten Morgen und an unsere Kollegen in Japan natürlich schönen Nachmittag. Auch ich darf Sie sehr herzlich zum ersten von 2 Online-Webinaren für den Exportmarkt Japan mit dem eben wichtigen Schwerpunkt Biolebensmittel und Functional Food begrüßen. Ja, wie schon erwähnt, mein Name ist Daniel Rogel und ich bin Projektmanager im Lebensmittelcluster Österreich und betreue bei uns im Cluster unter anderem Aktivitäten im Bereich der Internationalisierung. Ja, ganz kurzes Hintergrundinfo. Österreich liegt ja im Spitzenfeld der europäischen Staaten bei der Herstellung von Bio-Lebensmitteln und Getränken. Die Produkte sind natürlich auch international sehr stark gefragt und geschätzt und unter anderem ein neuer Hoffnungsmarkt für die Biobranche in Österreich liegt im Exportmarkt Japan. Aus diesem Grund, oder das war auch der Grund, dass die EU-Japan-Plattform für wirtschaftliche Zusammenarbeit in Kontakt mit uns getreten ist und hier die Möglichkeit beworben hat, ja, für unsere heimischen Produzenten, dass sie sich mit ihren Produkten auf einer Plattform registrieren können und wenn Interesse seitens der japanischen Importseite besteht, es hier zur Geschäftsanbahnung kommen kann. Wir haben diese Info natürlich gerne in unseren Kanälen bereits vor einiger Zeit, einigen Monaten gestreut und das Interesse und die Resonanz war hier erfreulicherweise sehr, sehr groß. Das war unter anderem auch ein Grund, warum es zur Planung dieser beiden Infotermine jetzt im September gekommen ist. Wenn Sie hier Interesse haben oder davon noch nichts gehört haben, ist eine Registrierung natürlich nach wie vor möglich. Gerne können Sie sich an mich oder natürlich auch wahrscheinlich an die Kollegen im AC Tokio für weitere Infos auch wenden. Ja, an dieser Stelle auch darf ich mich beim Außenwirtschaftscenter Tokio, insbesondere beim Wirtschaftsdelegierten Dr. Ingemar Lochschmidt und Sie bei der Vertretung Herrn Dr. Arnold Ackerer für die ausgezeichnete Zusammenarbeit bei der inhaltlichen Vorbereitung und Planung der beiden Termine bedanken. Ja, das war es auch schon von meiner Seite. Ich wünsche Ihnen allen einen spannenden und informativen Termin und ich freue mich schon auf ein virtuelles Wiedersehen am 29. September und ich darf das Wort nun an Frau Matsumoto übergeben. Vielen Dank.
So, guten Morgen. Mein Name ist Noriko Matsumoto. Ich bin zuständig für Lebensmittel und Getränke für Japan. Kurz möchte ich eine Information über japanischen Lebensmittelmarkt im Allgemeinen erzählen, damit Sie einen Überblick haben können. Wie Sie sehen, hat der Umsatz im Lebensmittelhandel 2020 den höchsten Wert in den letzten 10 Jahren erzielt. Ein Grund für die jüngste Steigerung ist, wie in Europa, dass in der Pandemie der Konsum zu Hause stark zugenommen hat. Hotels und Restaurants mussten entsprechende Rückschläge verbunden. Im Jahr 2014 die Mehrwertsteuer von 5% auf 8% erhöht, was auch im Einzelhandel zu einem Einbruch der Umsätze geführt hat. Die Steigerung der Umsätze bei Lebensmitteln seitdem und trotz der demografischen Situation, Japan verliert jedes Jahr ca. 300.000 Menschen, geht stark auf die Ausweitung des Onlinehandels seit ca. 2017 zurück. Außerdem konnten die Produzenten die Preise anheben, ohne dass der Umsatz zurückging. Im Hintergrund dazu liegt der Trend, dass vermehrt auch Frauen wieder auf den Arbeitsmarkt drängen und damit beide Ehepartner beschäftigt sind. Weshalb vermehrt online bestellt wird und Fertiggerichte im Supermarkt gekauft werden. Functional Food werden hauptsächlich von den alten Leuten gekauft. Früher haben solche Leute oft per Teleshopping oder Katalog für Versandhandel gekauft. Aber jetzt werden diese Kanäle auch langsam zum Online-Verkauf geändert. Ja, mit der gestiegenen Nachfrage nach Essen zu Hause hat der Umsatz bei den Supermärkten im letzten Jahr ein großes Wachstum erlebt. Functional Food kann man einfach im Drogeriemarkt auch kaufen und das Wachstum des Umsatzes beim Drogeriemarkt in den letzten Jahren erfolgte wegen der Gesundheitsorientierung, insbesondere auch in der Covid-Situation. Im Allgemeinen werden die verarbeiteten österreichischen Produkte von Importeuren bezogen und dann wegen ihrer höheren Qualität oft in hochwertigen Supermärkten oder Kaufhäusern sowie Gourmetgeschäfte, Fachgeschäfte, inkludiert Online-Geschäft verkauft. Ein Direkteinkauf oder Import durch Einzelhändler oder Supermärkte ist nicht so üblich. Bei der Suche nach Importeuren können wir sie gerne unterstützen. Vor allem mit der Teilnahme an unserem Gruppenstand auf der FoodEx-Messe. Die Messe ist die größte Nahrungsmittelmesse in Asien. Die Besucher sind potenzielle Geschäftspartner aller Bereiche wie Importeure, Groß- und Einzelhändler, Gastronomie oder selbstständig tätige Influencer besucht. Die Außenwirtschaft Austria organisiert jedes Jahr einen repräsentativen Gruppenstand mit ca. 20 bis 25 Aussteller aus Österreich. Heuer war die erste FoodEx-Messe seit Beginn der Corona-Situation und hatten wir 5 Aussteller. Leider konnte keiner der Aussteller persönlich anreisen, aber die Stände werden nach einer Vorabschulung und Nachbearbeitung von uns bestens betreut und viele Interessen am Stand gehabt. Vor allem die Aussteller, die mit ihren Produkten die Nachfrage unter der jetzigen Situation getroffen haben, haben einen raschen Markteintritt geschafft. Hier die Schlüsselwörter sind der kleine Luxus für zu Hause, Naturwein, Verbesserung der Immunstärke, Gesundheit, Fertiggerichte, Tiefkühlgerichte, günstige Ernährung im Alltag. 2022, also nächstes Jahr, planen wir ein eigenes Austrian Showcase, Seminar und B2B-Gespräche für Biolebensmittel und Functional Food. Auf der FoodEx-Messe veranstalten wir jeweils ein Seminar, welches jedes Jahr gut besucht ist. Heuer habe ich über Trends und Änderungen im Bioland Österreich während der gegenwärtigen Krise gesprochen und der Raum war übervoll. Das Seminar läuft meistens so. Zuerst bekommen die japanischen Teilnehmer einen Überblick über die Marktsituation in Österreich und bei Einreise nach Japan kann jeder Aussteller aus diesem Bereich am Ende kurz, also aus Biolebensmittel und Functional Food Bereich, am Ende kurz die eigene Firma oder Produkt präsentieren. Es gibt natürlich außer der FoodEx mehrere spezialisierte Fachmessen in Japan. Auch viele Messen sind aber hauptsächlich japanischen Hersteller und japanische Importeuren vertreten. Bezüglich der einzelnen Ausstellungen beraten wir Sie gerne persönlich. So, vielen Dank für Zuhören und für die weitere Fragen bitte auch in den letzten 10 Minuten vielleicht im Chat oder per Mails, wie Herr Ackrer gesagt hat. Vielen Dank.
Danke, Matsumoto-san. And at this time, I will switch to English as I welcome our next presenter, Pascal Gerber. As I said before, for many years, he was the CEO for Biolebensmittel in Japan. He also has done numerous advisor roles, several, I think, for the French Chamber of Commerce, for the French government, for the French Food Commission, but not only French related. I think also a few EU related engagements where you were as an advisor. And I think there is maybe very, very few people more destined to speak on the bio and organic food products market in Japan, and has so much knowledge about what products to bring it to the market, what products are good, what products sell in the Japanese market. So I'm very much looking forward to your presentation and to your talk, of course. And Pascal will mainly, of course, talk and not so much rely on slides. And I pass on the presenter role to Pascal now and tune out my video here. Pascal, take it away.
Thank you very much, Arnold. So, meine Damen und Herren, guten Morgen. Das ist eine Ewigkeit her, dass ich Deutsch nicht mehr gesprochen habe. Deshalb werde ich auf Englisch sprechen. Sorry about this, but I had to say that. It's really been too long. I will try to give you an overview about the organic market in Japan in less than 20 minutes, which is kind of a stretch because there are many things to do. But if you'd be more interested, you have with Arnold and his team a lot of very competent people to take it further. So without further ado, let me quickly start and give you a bit of a background as to why I'm here today. So as Arnold was saying, I have been general manager for Asia, mostly Japan, for Biolebensmittel between 2016 and 2021. So I just left about 6 months ago. The peculiarity of Biolebensmittel is it was a French organic retailer which has just been bought out by Carrefour in France, and in Japan it's one of the few international retailers still available in the country. Many came, many went, and as of now, you don't have a lot left. And in the organic field, Biolebensmittel is definitely the only one company which is present and hopefully is there to stay. The peculiarity is it's a JV. It's a 50-50 JV, which comes with a lot of challenges, including and notably the fact that the JV with Aeon being the Japan's leading retailer, with roughly about 25% of all food in Japan being distributed through one of the many different chains and channels that Aeon has. And why is it relevant for me to talk to you about organic in Japan is because in a bit less than 4 years, we started from no store to 26 stores around Tokyo with a target of reaching 50 stores, which probably will be the case about 3 years down the road. So a lot of things happen. We brought a lot of different suppliers, mostly French, Italian, European at large, but also some other American and Australian. So many things to do. Currently, I'm a CEO for a company in IoT and also doing independent consultancy in retail. So let's move into a quick point, which is the market overview. You'll see some points here. First, when we talk about organic in Japan, you have to realize that there is no, it's not the EU. You don't have one label covering pretty much all of the products. This will get into more detail during the next seminar, but what you have to keep in mind is that basically there is one label, just Bio, and it's covering pretty much originally vegetable-based product, then meat product through the extension, but it doesn't cover alcohol. So, for example, there is no one certification for alcohol. They are so different, but none one absolutely recognized. And I know some are wine producers for you. So actually, it's a little bit tricky part. One thing to understand about Japan is that Japan is lagging, is really far behind in terms of both production as well as sales when we're talking about organic, which means that you could see it as there is no market, or great, no products means there is a huge market. It's actually a matter of Japanese companies not willing to take a risk, thinking that, okay, there is no demand, but the reason why there is no demand is because there is very little, or there has been very little offering on the market. So that's why it used to be a very small market, but it's been growing. To give you some figures, so once we started with Biolebensmittel, it was estimated in 2016 that roughly 2% of the total sales of food in Japan was organic. Now, within those 2%, very limited, actually the smallest amount of it was certified, organic certified, so just bio-certified food. Most of the food, which is organic or grown organic, is actually consumed in local circles and doesn't end up on the stores of the supermarket. So you have a niche market, and this niche market is mostly catering to a health-conscious crowd, mostly in the cities, and it's mostly female. So when I say younger, you're targeting between 25 to 45 with, let's say, available discretionary income, because let's face it, in Japan, most of the organic food is quite expensive, be it imported because of transporting costs, transport charges, import tax in some cases, and also for the local production, you have limited production. It can be quite far away from the cities, limited volume. So at the end of the day, you will face quite significant price gap versus normal standard prices. So in Europe, when you can have almost similar prices or maybe plus 5 to 10%, in Japan, it can go up to 20, 30%. It's quite common. So that means it's not well spread, and most of the sales will be actually be organized around special retail chains. So specialist chains like Biolebensmittel, some also local ones. So I mentioned Kodawariya, FNF, both of them are mostly based out of Tokyo and surrounding area of Tokyo, with roughly 40 and 50 stores. So it's quite limited in terms of footprint. Some GMS stores, some convenience stores do carry some natural and organic products. And that's the case, for example, for Aeon. Aeon has part of their product, part of their own private brands, which with an offering of roughly 100 products being certified organic. And you will find more and more products in notably import-oriented chains like Seijo Ishii, Kaldi, Ikari Super, spread out on the Japanese territory. It's quite expensive. Once again, it's definitely not the heart of the offering, but you can see more and more products coming up. And then last point and not least, you have a growing online offering through Amazon, through direct import, as well as local producers offering, that's for fresh produce, for vegetables, direct to door delivery on a subscription basis. So you would buy on a weekly basis a basket of products delivered to your door. So that's roughly how the market is organized. As I said, niche market, quite expensive, and the reason is most of it, Japanese people don't really understand the benefits of eating organic, meaning that if they're eating what is sold in Japan in the supermarket, they assume it's good for them, it's healthy enough, and that they don't need to go out of their way and buy organic. There is not also the trend in Europe, as you're buying organic for yourself, but also for the environment. Being environmentally friendly by buying organic comes in 7th position out of the different listing, different reasons why Japanese will buy organic. So it's a different market, fundamentally different from Europe, still growing, but niche. So you have to be really focusing on specific products, specific chains, if you want to be successful. So how do you go? How do you address that market? I've seen that about half of you already have importers for your products. You're already dealing with Japan. That's great. Because of a regulation, you have to import your organic products using an importer which already has a specific license to do so. It must be JONA certified in Japan if you want to benefit from the equivalence, and that's for the vegetable-based products. Otherwise, you would have to get the certification each time for each of the products you're selling. So that's clearly a barrier to entry. So, and not so many of those importers are actually certified. So a great deal of those importers could be small and really doing specifically with organic products. most of the products imported you would find in Japan would come from Europe, Australia, and the US, to be quite clear. And that's mostly, and most of the products we're talking about for the end products, which 2/3 of you seemingly are dealing with, would be in dry goods with rather a long shelf life. You would have some specific importers for fresh products. You can find some organic certified fruits and veggies, fresh ones, but it's super expensive. We used to import as well at Biolebensmittel some meat, salami, as well as cheese from France and Italy. But it's quite expensive to do so. Products are clearly expensive too, and the volumes are fairly limited. So you have to be very mindful about the loss in your supply chain. So different supply chains, mostly dry goods, wine, and fresh products. That's mostly what you would find in delicatessen. What you need to pay attention again is that you have independent retailers, some of the retail chains, so notably the biggest one. I mentioned Kaldi, I mentioned Seijurishi, I mentioned Aeon, Ito-Yokado as well, that's 7-Eleven group, would have their own import, their own supply chain. So one good way, one possible good way to do would be to tie up with some of these retailers and be kind of exclusive with them, supply them on the long run products and more products. They also have, in some cases, difficulties gathering up different kind of products because we're talking about limited volume. So if among you, some are doing logistics, aggregation of different products also might be of interest to be able to bring a lot more products into the market. For the end product, one key point you need to realize is that nobody is waiting for you on the Japanese market. Why there is general interest from the Japanese consumer for foreign products, foreign goods, they not necessarily know all the background, all the historical and cultural points which come with your products, if it's a local specific product. To give you a specific idea, we were selling Frankfurter sausages. We're the first one to import German sausages from Frankfurt in Japan, whereby Frankfurter in Japan were produced only by local Japanese companies and have nothing to do with the original product. So we had to do a very heavy marketing to explain through good storytelling in Japanese what was the key, what the key selling point of the product, the value of the product, all the history coming with it, on top of the product being good, meaning you have to have the customer also recognize that the product is interesting and then it tastes good. So actions on the point of sale are mandatory, especially the more specific and the less knowledge the Japanese client has of your product, the more you need to do these kind of actions. And the importers, as well as the retailers, would expect you to set aside some budget to be able to do so. So when you're talking about Japan, please be aware of this. If you don't do it, it will be very hard for you to sell your products. Now, to get into more detail, maybe some general advice regarding market entry. Some of you have seen, about 50% of you have already dealt with importers, so you know that you will be asked a lot of information, a lot of details to be able to build the spec sheets. So out of the ingredient list, to be able to build the processes, it's extremely thorough. It takes a lot of time, and you need to be ready. Need to have your team ready to be able to answer all of these questions. That means you need also to focus on some products to be sure that you will see it through to the end. It's extremely hard to do several products at a time. To give you a more precise idea, when we started Biolebensmittel, the first store in 2016, we wanted to have about 5,000 SKUs at the store. Half of them were local produce, mostly fresh, and the rest we had to import. We couldn't find enough imported organic products in Japan, so we had to launch our dedicated supply chain to import new references. We started out with 1,200 references, which we aimed to import within a 1-year time frame. We ended up only being able to import about half of that, 600 products. because the regulation is super tough. Not especially organic, but just regulation as a whole. So even with that, 600 references in 1 year, that's something which has never been done before. Not only in organic, but roughly speaking, in Japan. Most of the importers, we focus on maybe tens of references a year at max. So be very specific. Try to really pinpoint what your bestsellers are and do your market research. Once you've done that, also be very mindful of your pricing. In the market environment in Japan, which is quite deflationary for the last 30 years, you have to understand salaries actually in PP, price purchasing power, have decreased over the last 30 years. So the retailers hate raising prices. As a matter of fact, they're not raising prices, or unless they have a huge constraint. So you will be asked to keep your prices down, especially now with an increase in transportation costs. Be mindful that in the long run, and you want to really deal with Japan in the long run because of the cost to enter the market, you will be asked probably to drive down your prices. So put some buffer into this because you will not be able to raise that in the near future. Finally, maybe you have to come and try experience by yourself. So as Matsumoto-san, Foodex is clearly the place you want to be if you want to try to be in Japan. But beyond this, the Japanese market is an interesting market. You have people willing to take a shot at your product. You have people who are very curious, who have the money and the resources to buy your product, but it's hard to crack. It takes time, takes commitment. You need to be very detail oriented, especially regarding quality, not only the product in itself, about the packaging. So you have to be ready. It's not a first-time exporter market, so I do believe most of you are already exporters, but be mindful that we need to commit significant resources if you want to be ready. If you don't and you still manage to enter and you have issues, it will be very hard if you fail to come back into the market, because the market has a very long memory. So be mindful of it. It can be a very interesting market, but just be aware of the amount of time and resources you will need to commit to be able to work well with the Japanese partners. That rounds up pretty much my presentation, and I will be very happy to answer any kind of questions you may have at the end. Thank you very much. Arnold, back to you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Pascal. And not only thank you for being an expert for the market today, but also for being an importer for Austrian products for many years. I know from my visit at Bio C'est Bon that there is a lot of Austrian products in the shelves. So yeah, thank you very much for that. And I hope we can see more in the future.
Not up to me only anymore.
I know. Okay, thank you so much, Pascal. And I would then like to ask Morishita Sensei to come online. And Morishita Sensei is from the Osaka University. He is professor of the Department of Clinical Gene Therapy. He is also an expert in the commission of the former Prime Minister Abe. For functional food, there are few people who know so much about regulatory issues, about so much like the market of functional food as Morishita Sensei.
Okay, thank you very much for your kind, introductions. Today I'd like to explain the Japan new food systems, especially functional food systems. So this system has been started from the Prime Minister Abe 2015. Then before these new food systems, the functional food is very limited in Japan. But after this new functional food systems, now that is very open for the many kind of food styles, including fresh food. He said that Prime Minister Abe said that the new system enables the food business operator to display the function claim, including the agriculture, forestry, and forestry product by submitting notification for the function beforehand by evaluating the evidence by each business operator. So this meaning that this system is basically registration systems, but not the permissions or government control systems. The framework of the system is easy to understand for consumers and promoting the provision of accurate information. It is considered that the system also brings the chances to small and medium-sized enterprise. It is very important to gain the consumer's complete trust and the big efforts made by the people involved in the systems. So especially to build up these systems, myself involved in the member of the regulatory affairs under the Prime Minister Abe. So to conduct this new functional food systems, we explored and evaluate the EFSA system and also FDA functional food systems. So basically under the FDA functional food systems, but we asked the company to have the human evidence, especially under the double-blind study manner. So basically, this is registration systems. However, the scientific levels is not low. That is very high levels. So basically, the new functional food systems to maintain ensuring safety and also to establish requirements for science evidence to make functional claims, and so to provide information for consumers with proper labelings. So here is the outline of the new systems. So basically, the company necessary to provide safety aspect and also to provide efficacy and effectiveness based on the scientific evidence. Especially, as before I mentioned, this new functional food system requires a clinical trial. Also, literature review on a finished product or substances. So based on the peer-reviewed papers. So also the company has been asked to make the cautions on the target population and the permit statement. And also government involvement different from the Tokio systems. So also after the product entering the market, the company should collect the information on adverse effect and also the how to avoid to prevent distribution of a dangerous product and so on. So after the 6 years passed, currently the number of published notifications is almost reached to 4,000. So Tokyo clarifications, the 13 years ago has been started, but still only the 1,000. So this kind of a difference between Tokyo and functional food systems are based on the difficulty of the clinical trials. The almost half of the published notifications belong to dietary supplement. So fresh food currently need over the 100. So actually number of published notifications all over the Japan, including Tokyo, Osaka, and 3 major cities. But 40% of notifications belong to the other prefectures. Here is the notification status of a food functional food. The green bar demonstrated the functional food systems. Blue bar exhibited the Tokyo. And you see, after the starting of the new functional food systems, many of the functional food claim foods belong to the new functional food systems. So these systems, the company should submit the functional food to the consumer affairs agency. So they will check the papers, and they will return until the 15 days it is okay or not. So currently the Consumer Affairs Agency has been trying to reduce the day to make the official announcement. The currently 15 days is the officially claims for the functional health claim submitting. So I mentioned the statement of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. He mentioned that this system is very useful for small or mid-size of the business size. Indeed, almost 6% of the total of the functional health food systems is belong to the small and mid-sized enterprise. Actually, here is a labeling example of the functional food systems. For example, body fat, function boils, blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, eyes to support the functional focusing, or eye and nose to reduce the discomfort of eye and nose, and also skin to keeping the moisture and even dry skin, bone to maintain the bone metabolisms, also knee, body temperature, sleep, and so on. As you see, this system covers very variety of the functional claims. Here is a ranking of functional food systems. This side is a functional. The top one is fat, second is sugar, 3 is a stool, then blood pressure, general fatigue, skin, cognitive functions, eye, sleep, stress, and so on. Here is the products. The first one is a GABA, second one dextrin, third is skin, and so other kind of bio product, the DHA, lutein, and so on. Here's a market size of functional food systems. After the starting this new functional food systems, every year the market size are growing year by year. The last year, probably the market size needed to the $2.8 billion US dollars. Again, half is belong to the supplement, and 40% general food, and fresh food is 4.3%. The growth rate of a market size of functional food is almost over the 10%. So this market is still growing. Here's one of the example of functional food systems. So here is a keyword of the functional value of the product. And here the target groups is the elderly persons. Actually, this is a functional component, lutein, astaxanthin, and DHA, and so on. So here is to focusing eye. So also it is necessary to write the number of the registrations. Here's another kind of example of the general food. This is a canned mackerel and tuna for lowering triglyceride. This is an example of a fresh food notifications. The first one is orange, and the second one is soybean isoflavones, and also the other orange and apple and so on. Here is an example of the Mikabi orange to maintain healthy bone metabolisms. There's another kind of fresh food. This is a fresh kampachi sashimi to lower triglyceride. Also, the foods related to the fresh types, for example, green tea bag or benifuki to reduce discomfort of the eye and the nose. Here's another type of the food. This is rice to decrease LDL cholesterol. If you want to see the functional food systems, you may enter to the notification database. by the customer agency. Customer agency make these kind of database systems. If you enter to the product name, or sometimes use which kind of functional claims, and you may look at all of the data. Here's one example. If you put on the bones, 16 foods are displayed. And if you push these details, you may check their evidence and also the package and also the how to check the product contents. This is another kind of example. If we search word fat, 297 foods are displayed the same way. You may check the company name, also the supplement or general food or fresh food, and here is the product components. So if you want to enter this field in Japan, please check this notification database. And also you may use this kind of systemic review appeared in this kind of notification database. Actually, I mentioned this system is registered, not permission from the government. So therefore, government, especially agency for customer, now purchased for the survey of the functional food. So here is the evaluation method. And actually, agency has been tested to analyze the amount of the functional substance and also the validity of the labeled value. And they will open the result. And if the contents are not enough, the registrations should be reduced. Actually, this year, the new health claims are coming on these systems. Especially killing groups have acceptable for the submission of the health claim for immunity using L-lactose strain plasma. So this is a functional food claims. This food contains L-lactose strain plasma. L-lactose strain plasma is reported to be useful to maintain the immunity in healthy subjects through plasmacytoid dendritic cells. So basically, functional claim is contain the real outcome and also through the mechanisms. So this kind of a combination is important for obtain the functional health claims. Currently, this product is growing almost over the 0.5 million, $500 million US dollars per year. Probably next year, including the new health claim for immunity, the market size should be grown more and more. Actually, to write the mechanisms, agency also requires human evidence based on the double-blind placebo manner. So I believe that the new health claim functional food systems in Japan is most advanced in the world at this point, because FDA does not require the human clinical trial. EFSA systems is very limited on the product. Currently, the Japan health claim systems is based on the submission from the each enterprise, but the responsibility of the functional health claim is based on the enterprise, but the government are looking for the post-evaluation after the launching into the market. The currently Korean and also Taiwan and Chinese is now trying to import very similar Japanese health claim functional food systems. So currently, after the corona, the Japan government wants to export Japan-style healthcare systems using Expo 2025. 2025 World Expo will be held Osaka, Kansai areas. The theme is Designing Future Society for Our Lives. So in this Expo 2025, the Osaka city and prefecture now decided to make the healthcare pavilions based on the functional food systems. Hopefully, you and your colleagues, please come to this Expo 2025, or before this Expo, please join to Japanese market. The market is now widely open for the abroad too. So finally, I want to show you the promotion video, Expo 25.
Today, the world is giving its all to resolve global issues. Japan has been contributing to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda with its advanced technology and the culture of co-creation. Expo Osaka Kansai will be an opportunity to expand the community of co-creation to the world. Our vision. People's Living Lab. The World Expo will be a living lab where we try new ideas for the future society for all humanity.
Create something entirely new.
Turn impossible into possible.
Bring different types of happiness to people.
Bring change to the world.
Combine diverse thinking and approaches.
Explore new possibilities.
Cherish curiosity.
Challenge yourself.
Don't be afraid of failure.
No matter where they are from, what values they hold, all people are equal creators here. The Expo encourages everyone to try new ideas and will be the perfect place for trial and error. The Expo is an opportunity where seemingly unrelated talents and ideas meet and new ideas are generated. Our strategy. Expo Osaka Kansai is not just an event that happens in 2025. It is a 7-year project of continued trial and error starting on the day of the host city selection. Expo Osaka Kansai's legacy will be more than just tangible things like buildings and infrastructure. It is a change in people's minds. It will shape our future society by influencing individuals throughout their lifetimes. Expo Osaka Kansai does not aim to produce a single correct answer. It will motivate each of the world's 10 billion people to think, experiment, and act. Our future. Well, let's try and imagine the future we are striving forward. In the year 2025, Tomomi, a high school student, is inspired by the Expo and goes on to study regenerative medicine at university. Ali left his company to start his own AI-based advanced nursing care business in the special economic zone set up during the Expo. Max used prize money from an Expo competition to develop technology that revitalized agriculture in his country. Tanya, a retired engineer, teaches programming to children she met at the Expo. Expo Osaka Kansai does not end in 2025. It is just the beginning. The changes we catalyze will carry on into 2026 and beyond. Because Japan has been open to new ideas and developing new technologies to contribute to achieve SDGs. And because Osaka and Kansai is a place brimming with vitality, that exceeds the ordinary, and no matter what the challenge, maintains an enthusiastic, well, get to it then attitude. Expo Osaka Kansai will offer the entire world a place to experiment and shape our future society. People's Living Lab. Expo 2025, Osaka, Kansai, Japan.
1970, Osaka Expo has been held. At that time, Bulgarian pavilions introduced Bulgarian yogurt in Japan. Currently, the market size of Bulgarian yogurt is over now $1 billion. That is one big chance to enter to the Japan market. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Morishita Sensei, particularly ending on such a positive note. I hope that we will have a lot of similar products that enter the market and make $1 billion here. I would ask Pascal, can you come back for the final round of questions? We have very limited time, but I would like to ask each just one quick question that we have. So Pascal, the first question goes to you. It's maybe difficult to tell, but what kind of products, what kind of product groups do you think now in the organic field, of course, have the best chance in Japan, in the Japanese market?
Actually, currently people have an interest in the organic food year by year. And basically, many people have to maintain the non-allergy or also decrease allergy conditions. Also, people have a belief organic food is better for the maintain in the skin condition and also to decrease the body weight. So I think that.
So I think you're hinting that organic food that also has some additional health effects seems very positive. Can I ask our second speaker, Pascal? You maybe from a different perspective. What do you think is selling good now in the organic market?
Yeah, so basically, as I said, the market is still very small, so there are opportunities pretty much everywhere. What people should focus is, I do think, is single packaged goods, dry goods. There is limited offering on the snacking side, so plenty of possibilities in that end for both sweet and savory. And I do see also another very growing market, especially since last year, is the vegan plus organic combination. You have not so many readily available dishes, so ready-made dishes, especially for single use. Once again, don't remember that probably about 50% of the population in Tokyo is single, don't have necessarily a lot of time, and for especially the women who want to eat rather let's say safe and sound and good, you don't have, it's either you get a fetch bento or a cup of ramen. So a cup of ramen, even organic, is not necessarily the best in terms of food balance. So if you have ready meals, vegan, organic, it's clearly a very growing, sharply growing sector.
Okay, I see. Super. Thank you for that answer. A very similar question, and since we talked about target groups, very fitting also for Morishita Sensei. Morishita Sensei, in the functional food area, who do you see are the biggest consumer groups? Who is eating or using functional food the most?
So basically, functional food are very popular in elderly persons.
Elderly persons.
Yeah, especially, as you know, Japan's population is now very, balanced to the elderly person. So probably almost 40 or 50% become to the over 65. But recently, a little bit middle person, like 50 years or something like that, are also now trying to take such kind of functional food. But in the young ladies, 20 or 30 years old, are also very popular to take the functional food, especially supplement. But these kind of target of the population are dependent on which kind of function.
I see. Thank you so much, Morishita Sensei, Pascal. Thank you so much for today. We are unfortunately running out of time now. I think there's a lot of interest. We had a lot of attendees today. We'll follow up with them, of course, and hopefully for all the Austrian visitors and attendees today, we'll see you at the Foodex or at any other occasion here in Japan at one of the shows or on your own business trip. Business traveling will not be so easy for the next few months still. It's still very difficult to enter Japan for any kind of business trip. So hopefully at the beginning of the new year, end of this year, we'll see a change in the visiting policy and hope to welcome you then in 2022 for the Foodex or a similar event, or otherwise, as we have done successfully this year, please join us on the hybrid Foodex that we also offer this year. Morishita Sensei, Pascal, thank you for joining us today. All to die österreichischen Mitanseher heute mit hier dabei waren. Besten Dank fürs Dabeisein. Wir vom Außenwirtschaftscenter Tokio freuen uns auf Ihre Fragen, freuen uns auf Ihre Markteintrittsstrategien und hoffen, dass Sie bald wieder mit uns in Kontakt treten. Besten Dank. Auf Wiedersehen.
Vielen Dank. Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.